Good morning, yarn tubers. Oh yeah. Welcome back to Dana's Wanderlust Crochet with Dana and Dooley. Here he is. Here he is. He's wide awake this morning. He's had his breakfast. The bed's kind of made. He's got his donut, his favorite donut. That's his donut. Yeah. So, let me open this a little bit. Make sure we got enough light in here. I'm sorry I haven't brushed my teeth yet, so don't get too close. Nasty breath. Ugh, trucker breath. Okay, so I might just mention something about the Christmas in July Fairies giveaway. This isn't an update video. I just want to say, you know, we were talking about making June 30th the last day to upload a fairy video. I don't think everybody got that memo. So I'm not going to worry about it. We are in Phoenix, where it is like the depths of Hades here. And I'm sorry. I apologize ahead of time for anybody who may live here. I'm finding people to be very unfriendly here. There are a few places where I've actually had that experience personally. Pennsylvania is one of them. But now, here in the, well, even up in Flagstaff, people they're just not friendly. That's too bad. That's just been my experience. I'm sorry if you live here. I don't mean to offend. Just maybe it's this horrible heat. It is terrible. I can see why people don't live here in the summertime. You know, those snowbirds. So I'm making coffee. I just got done getting my thermos full. I think this is ready. Yeah. Loving my coffee. I've got some chicken thighs here. I'm going to put in my little 3-quart Instant Pot here in a minute. I don't know where I'm headed next, but what I want to talk about is, yes, if any of you know somebody who is just wanting to learn to crochet, but they're serious about it. I don't mean someone who's going to go, oh, this is hard and quit. You know, and I get it, you know, if you do that. It may not be your thing. But I do have the Crochet Skills Development course. And I've got the first couple, you know, assignments up in that playlist. And this year, it looks like I'm only going to get one more assignment up in that playlist. But it's going to be a doozy. Don't run away screaming. But this next assignment is going to be a study of the granny. I have been doing a lot of research. Well, some research, you know. Not an in-depth study. But I have been researching like the history of the granny square. And let's talk about that. Because this next assignment is going to be, you know, I don't have ends tucked in yet, but I know this is a bigger granny square than you usually do, but it's going to be a completed like lap blanket or throw, not huge, but it will involve, you know, we're going on to double crochet now, and so I decided to make it all about the granny square, the history of the granny square. So it will be 6 rounds with 3 different colors, and so it'll be 3 parts. The first part is going to be, you know, learning how to do the square and the color changes. We're going to go over color changes again, and again the weaving in of ends. Then we're going to, well, how did I have this? I don't even remember how I had it split up. But anyway, it was going to be a 3-parter, putting it together, putting a border on it, that kind of thing. Now, I know some people run away screaming when it's like, oh, it's a granny square. Ah! Okay. But the granny square is a great jumping off point for a lot of other things. And here's some things that I have learned about the granny square. I mean, I'm not a fan of the whole granny, you know, how it looks. I think it does look very old-fashioned to me, considering the kind of patterns that we have today. But, like, literally, I just purchased a book that was published in, I think, 1891 that that talked about, it didn't say granny square. It said this square is, you know, great for using robes, and robes were like, robes weren't like what we call robes today. You know, baby blankets, Afghan, you know, that kind of thing. It didn't give, you know, the original pattern, which, that's another point I don't want to forget. And then there are articles, you can look them up online, that talk about the history. So, like in the American frontier, you know, before the early 1900s, women would, you know, they couldn't run down to Hobby Lobby, Michael's, or Joann's. They couldn't run, I mean, to get supplies out on, you know, out on the frontier, the prairie, the mountains, wherever they were living. Not a lot of yarn options available. So they would take old sweaters and socks, and they would unravel them. And they would use the pieces, scrap pieces, to make these squares. And when they got enough, they would put together what they called a robe or a blanket. Then there is in another article talking about, like, during the Depression era, that these squares, American women were doing that again. Now, I don't know that this is a totally American idea. This is just as much information as I had. But American women were, you know, unraveling those items again and giving those scraps to the older women in the family, and the older women would put them together in these squares. And that's where the name Granny Square came from. I believe. I mean, from what I've read, that's what I see. So that's the history. And traditionally, the Granny Square, you know, today a lot of us are being taught that it's pretty much done in a round, chain up, round, or sometimes we slip stitch over to the corner. I like that. But the original, from what I can tell, that's not how it was done. It was actually done in rows. So you would do, and I just found several videos that teach this. You do your first, you know, set of, you know, granny clusters with the 3 chain corners. We're going to do 3 chain. And then you turn your work, chain up, and go back the other direction. The reason that I'm going to teach that, 1, is because it's classic, it's historical. 2, because otherwise, you know, you get a one-sided granny square. And this is a 2-sided granny square. So I'm going to call it like side A and side B. I want to teach the 2-sided granny square. And like I said, that's a pretty big square, because typically they're only like 5 rounds. I made these 6. So there'll be, you know, a color in the center, 2 rounds of each color. And then we will work on joining. And this will be a finished object. You know, that's part of what I want done in this crochet skills development course, is that the students have a finished object at the end. Now, whether they keep it or not, believe me, to me, everything has to have a use. You know, it's my psychosis. So this can be a throw for the back of their couch. It could be a Lapgan that you donate. Nursing homes really like these. They love them. So that's what I have been working on, and I'm still doing more research. I want to be sure that you know, I'm teaching correctly. So this is not a granny square in the round. It's a granny square basically in rows, back and forth. And another advantage is that a lot of times people will do those granny squares by, you know, not turning the work. Sometimes you get like you've got a square, but there's like a twist in it. I think that's from not slip stitching over to the corner, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm going to teach the traditional. And this is the one assignment that I'm going to have out this year, because I've got a lot going on. And that playlist is going to continue to develop as time goes on, because it's kind of my baby, you know. I love it. this study of the granny square is really, really going to develop muscle memory and knowledge. You know, I teach, you know, what the charting looks like and how the written out patterns look like. And I make people, part of the assignment is to write out the pattern with me. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope everybody's having a great day. I'm waiting to see where we're going next. So, oh, and here's something I want to mention. I'm sorry, back to fairies. Back to the Christmas and July fairies is, when you do your, this was suggested by one of my subscribers. And I hate, you know how I hate rules, but it's a suggestion, and I'm going to suggest it a couple times between now and the 15th, that when you do your drawing video, please make it short. These wonderful subscribers of ours have right now like 140 fairy videos to go check out on that day. And they have, like, you know, a 15-day window before, or a 10-day window before the big winter. You know, that's a lot of videos to go through. Let's be considerate and keep our drawing videos short if you can. You know, I love you guys. Bye.